I've now travelled across the world in an effort to track down abandoned vehicles, unique structures, and the incredible engineering of our past. But you don't have to travel the world to bring these things to life. You can in fact do it from the comfort of your own home. For example, like this World War II rescue buoy that I have brought to life, or this massive recreation of the lost Antarctic snow cruiser, which I have built from the ground up with a full exterior and interior. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen? So, to pull off this project, Bambu Labs have sent me two of their fantastic printers. And the first one is this. This is the Bambu Lab A1, and it is the most accessible, easy to use and beginner-friendly printer that Bambu offers, and perfect for somebody like me who really has no idea what they're doing. And I could do this entire project down to the very fine details of the model that I'm planning to print just on this, the A1, but Bambu Labs also sent me a little bit of backup. This is the Bambu Lab X1 Carbon, and it is the Rolls-Royce of 3D printers. It really took my breath away when I saw this thing for the first time. It looks like something from Star Trek. You've got this fully self-contained unit with the glass door. You've got a viewing port on the top and on the front so you can watch your print being assembled. And of course, it's incredibly well soundproof too. But the technology inside here means that it can print more accurately and faster than basically any other commercially available 3D printer out there. However, the real trick when it comes to both this, the X1 Carbon, and the A1 behind me there, is the fact that both of these can be bundled with what we call the AMS system. It lets you use multiple different types of filaments, for example, different colors, by loading them into the top up here. Normally, if you wanted to print multi-color print, you would have to swap out the filament, let it run through the nozzle, and then resume printing again. With this, the AMS system, you can switch between these, or rather, the printer can, without you having to do a single thing. Now, both these printers, the X1C, the A1, and a lot more in the Bambu Lab range are currently on sale right now. In fact, it is the biggest Black Friday sale in Bambu Lab history. And if you are interested in getting into 3D printing like I was, now's your chance. But if you already do 3D printing, but you want to upgrade to the latest and greatest in 3D printing technology, well, this is also your chance to jump on board. So check the links in the description below. And now, well, it's time to get printing. Ever since I saw that German rescue buoy on Terschelling, I've been wanting to try and recreate it. But besides building a gigantic version of it in my garden, 3D printing is the best way to bring it to life. And what the Bambu Lab printers have managed to do just with this simple model is really quite remarkable. You know, one of the things about 3D printing is the print is only going to be as good as the 3D model that it's based on, and luckily I have an amazing 3D model that was made by Brendan for me in my last video. But also, all of that can only succeed if you have good software to go with it. And luckily, Bambu Studio, the software that communicates and prepares your model for printing, is absolutely fantastic. Now, obviously, it's a very in-depth program where you can fine-tune all the small elements of your print. But if you're someone like me who's a complete novice, Bambu Studio is incredibly intuitive. I literally took the original 3D model, dropped it into Bambu Studio, and there it was in all its glory. Now, obviously, you don't have to build and supply your own models. If you'd like, you can go through Bambu's Maker World, you can go through their app on your phone, browse through thousands of models, and can be printed basically with one click. But I thought, let's go one further. Sure, you can just print it in one color. Any 3D printer can do that, but let's print it in full color. So I fired up Bambu Studio and I got coloring. I think the most surprising thing to me is just how easy it is to paint and assign colors to your objects in Bambu Studio. Now, I decided to go with a base color of yellow, but then I used gold for the accents. So for the railings, for the hinges, for the little hooks on the top of the rescue buoy itself, and for the mast. But then finally, I just put a little touch of white in either side of the windows. I clicked slice, clicked print, and it got to work. And this is the final result. this blew me away because I was expecting this thing to basically lose all the railings, lose all the definition in it, because you're printing at such a small scale. And I mean, these little railings here are about as thick as a hair, basically. And it managed to print them all out, and it also managed to support them. So when I took this thing off the plate, all I had to do was very carefully cut round all the supports on the railings and then remove it, and here you go. The entire buoy with its lovely gold accents running around the outside. This is what sailors or downed crewmen would have held onto, or they could have used to hold onto when they swam up to it. I think this thing is absolutely brilliant, but you don't have to just look at it through the camera. If you have a BambuLab printer, if you end up buying one, I'm going to upload this model to Bambu's online Maker Lab. You can download it for yourself, you can play around with it, you can print it at different sizes. You might be able to create a better recreation than I've managed to do here. So if you have or get one of the BambuLab printers, I'll leave a link in the description below to this, the Rescue Buoy on the BambuLab Makers Lab, and you can try it for yourself. But while the Rescue Buoy is all well and good, it is a relatively simple shape. It's basically a box with a conning tower on top. I wonder if there's something that I can create that doesn't exist anymore, that we can bring back to life through the power of 3D printing. And I think I've found it, because if we go to Popular Science, November 1939, and go to page 65, there is a wonderful photo of a model of the Antarctic snow cruiser, the vehicle that was envisioned to conquer Antarctica in the name of the United States. Built in 1939 and shipped out for the American Antarctic Service Expedition, it was designed as a moving base on wheels, something which could traverse all the obstacles that were presented to it in the wild wastes of Antarctica. It featured an entire barracks and crew mess on the interior. It was driven by a unique diesel-electric powertrain, and it was a massive failure. At this photo of the model of the snow cruiser, I've always thought it would be amazing to try and recreate it, especially at the huge scale that this thing was clearly built at, but also combining it with the illustration that's next to it, something that is fully furnished and can highlight all the incredible details of the exterior, but also the interior. Now, many years ago, I uploaded a video about the Antarctic snow cruiser to my channel. It was one of the very first long-form videos that I ever made. Since I uploaded my video, there has been a renaissance in interest about the Antarctic snow cruiser. And now, if you go online, you will find photos, renders, videos galore about the subject, and some amazing 3D models. Now, I found this 3D model by Pablo Model Kits online. Funnily enough, this model is the same model that was featured in a video about the Antarctic snow cruiser that was uploaded by a small little channel called Mustard. You've probably not heard of them, but their video about the Antarctic snow cruiser featured this incredible 3D model, and I managed to find it, purchase it, and I will say the real MVP of all of this is Bambu Studio. You can just basically drag or drop files into the studio. It will prepare them, get them ready to print. Roughly speaking, I think it's going to be about 172, 176 in a model size. Now, that's going to be pretty big, so I have got a lot of printing ahead of me. So luckily, I've got two printers.
Well, let me have a rule and a saw and a board and I'll cut it. I'll climb up a ladder with a hammer and a nail and I'll nail it. Well, we worked so hard to build a little house together. In the snow or the rain or the ice cold wind, whenever, no matter what the weather, we're together.
So we have our beautiful, huge front section. The scarlet red looks absolutely fantastic. We've also printed the middle section, so that goes about here. This is where the galley would have been, and the kind of living quarters for the crew. There would have been some bunks in there. And then we have this, the rear section, and this is where the massive storage was for the other two spare wheels. So we can add that on too. The thing that I'm most excited about, and that is about to just finish up in the X1, are the wheels. So let's see how those turned out. Okay, fresh out of the oven, here is the multicolor wheels, and it's amazing watching this thing print out and seeing it switch between the different colors, going from grey to black to white and then back and forth is amazing. The only thing I really need to do is remove the supports from the back here, and there's not even really much of that. The next thing that we need to do is start printing on a small scale. We're going to start printing the tables, the chairs, all the fun little interior sections. And for that, we're going to try and get the most detail possible out of these printers. And we're going to do that by switching the nozzles. This here is a nozzle, and this is basically what heats up the filament as it comes through and then spreads it onto the printing plate and builds up the layers of your 3D print. So what I did on the X1 was quickly take out the original 0.4mm head. It was basically 2 screws, these 3 cables, the thing dropped out, you put the new one in, do it in reverse, put the cover back on, and then you're ready to start printing. So let's compare. This is one of the navigation chairs from the bridge. Now, if we compare that to this, the 0.2mm, I mean, the difference on here is night and day. You can play it like a washboard on the 0.4mm. Another good comparison would be this. This here is the radio set, and look at the extra detail that you get. You can even see the frequency dial. There's a really good one. This is the bench drill from the machine shop on the Snow Cruiser, and you can actually see here, you know, the real contours from the 0.4 print, and then almost nothing here. But yeah, amazing. Still can't get over just how easy that was to swap out. And I guess all that's left to do now is start painting. Oh, shit. Well, she is almost complete. My goodness. This has been about 7 days, an entire week of wall-to-wall printing, prepping, and painting, and now assembling. These printers are remarkable. The A1 and the X1 have been running basically non-stop for about 7 days now, printing huge parts that have taken hours and hours and hours, to printing small little tiny items like the stuff we reviewed for the furniture of the interior. And I've not had one single failure. Nothing's gone wrong. None of the prints have come out messed up. None of them have spaghettied out, as they call them, you know, where filament just starts going everywhere. Every single one works. I turn it on, I look at the app later, it tells me it's complete. I can review my progress, I can look through all the various time lapses of all the stuff that I've done to create this. But I have painted and prepped and brought everything together, and we'll do a quick tour of the Antarctic Snow Cruiser. So one of the big things about the Snow Cruiser was the fact that this whole area, this rear section here where the 2 spare tires lived, was actually fully detachable. And you can actually see in some photos when it was moving and being transported around, it often didn't have this entire back section attached to it. The big problem with the Antarctic Snow Cruiser was always the powertrain. It was very underdeveloped. If we actually go all the way to the front here, you can see this is the engine bay and machine shop. So it actually has a lathe and a bunch of mechanical stuff, because remember, the idea was this was a traveling, moving base on wheels. It had to be able to fix and produce anything that could be consumed or needed to repair the Snow Cruiser in the wilds of Antarctica, or at least that was the idea. Now, you had 2, I believe it was Cummins H6 engines. Each one could put out about 150 horsepower, and this would then transfer power to electric motors. The electric motors powered the wheels, and I think each electric motor had an output of around 75 horsepower, maybe, but it wasn't very much. And this thing was always underpowered. There was a lot of mechanical issues. Remember, they're limited by the technology of the day, but they're also limited by the timescale. This entire machine was built in 11 weeks. It took me 1 week to build just this model of it. So this entirely untested technology, an entirely new novel design, built for an environment that very few people understood, was built in 11 weeks. And the tires that they chose were basically the only tires that they could find in time to work on this. Had this been equipped with better treaded tires, it probably would have had far better success on the snow and the ice. They didn't even have a chance to test it on snow and ice before they shipped it out to Antarctica. So yeah, you've got the storage compartment at the back here for the tires, you've got the engine bay and machine shop up front, and then you had a little kind of galley kitchen area here. You can see I have created here the little stove. You've got your sink with, well, we've painted it with hot and cold water. I don't know if there was hot running water in there. But yeah, the accommodation was quite well received because it was warm in there. And a warm, cozy, dry space is something that would be rare to find in Antarctica in the late 1930s. Remember, this thing was designed with a heating system. And it was designed, obviously, for keeping the crew warm. But it was also designed so that the tires inside their big wheel arches could be kept warm by the heat of the engines and the vehicle itself. And it was thought this would help stop the rubber tires degrading in the freezing cold temperatures. Now, the final accommodation is through here into the engine machine room and then up these stairs, and that's what led to the bridge. But to get to the bridge, we should actually assemble the entire thing. So let's get the rest of this and build out, for the first time, the Antarctic snow cruiser. So we've got the middle section, got the rear section. This is actually the little doorway, but this is the bit that I am the most excited to show off. I originally printed this just in red, and I thought it looked all right, but I thought, no, I've got to try and, you know, really take advantage of the technology that I've got behind me here. So I was like, let's do it again using the AMS system to print it in multiple colors. It was an amazing print watching it build all of this up. It used white for the supports, red for the walls, and then the white for the little windows here. And it even did the white on the little bulb up there on the top, the spotlight on the roof, which I think looks absolutely fantastic. But there's one more trick to this, because inside here is the bridge. And one of the things I couldn't work out was how, you know, if this is all covered up and the whole shell's on, how do we just look at the bridge itself? But then I realized Bambu Studio allows you to make cuts into the 3D model. You can slice it up so that you can slice up a large model and then combine it back together again after it's been printed. And that's what I did here. I made a cut along here, literally took me like 3 clicks, sent it over to the printer, and it printed 2 sections. And look at this. On the inside here is the assembled bridge with a little radio and a few other items on the top. I think this looks amazing, but the best thing is, in theory, this should all connect and line up, and especially connect with the stairway over here. Now, I've not done this yet, so let's give it a try. A little wall to the machine shop, and then get it to line up. Straight out of the printer. This thing has had no prep. In fact, you might be able to even see there are still bits of white leftover support from the actual printing process on this. This came straight out of the printer and has now just basically been put onto the model. That is amazing. There we go. It fits together. Final bit on the back. Little roof section. On. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen? I don't know what I'm going to do when I go home to my wife and say, hey, do we have a place for this? You know, if I was to make a highlight reel of the year, certainly travelling all the way to Alaska, the depths of the Yukon, to track down the last remains of the Laterno overland trains. Look, it ranks up there. But being able to just do a big model making sesh with my dad. This has just been me and my dad basically painting and sanding this as we've taken them out of the printer. What an absolute treat. Absolutely fantastic. What an amazing, great chance to get into 3D printing as well too. Something I've always wanted to do. And hopefully I've shown off some of the benefits that I have found in my own personal work here. But you also have to remember that the 3D printing sphere is so huge now. You know, you can buy one of these printers. They're unbelievably accessible. One of the things that always kind of scared me about getting into 3D printing was how easy it would be to work the software, work the machines. BambuLab have made them so user accessible with such a low barrier of entry. And then if you download the BambuLab app or you go through the software on the computer, you can just browse through thousands of unique builds. Stuff for the house, toys and games, boxes and trinkets. You know, I'm really looking forward to fleshing out basically my workshop with all the tools and extra parts that I can now just print off in a 3D printer. As somebody who lives in a very rural place where shipping stuff up can be a little bit of a nightmare, the ability to manufacture that stuff on site, you know, the small stuff that's almost more of a pain to get up here than the big stuff. But yeah, big thanks to Bambu Labs for giving me the opportunity to try this out. A big thank you to, well, my dad again for helping paint all of this, and also to a few people. Brendan, who made the original 3D model of the German rescue buoy. Amazing, I think. I really like the contrast of going from the very small and detailed to the very large. Obviously, check out the link in the description below. I'll leave the link to this model that you can buy and download just like I did. And a big thank you to Sebastian, because when I got this model, I didn't really know a lot about it and how to work it and get it prepared for printing. I contacted Sebastian, who deals with these things and 3D modeling on a professional basis, and he got this fixed for me. One thing you'll know is from the video, remember the Antarctic snow cruiser had an aircraft attached to the roof. What was it? A Beechcraft Stagger Wing. Funny story, that airplane actually still exists. I'll leave a link in the description to another video I made about that. But I didn't have time to make that. But Sebastian actually put a lot of effort into making sure that that plane kit would fit together quite nicely. So I think what I'll maybe do is a little follow-up video one day, maybe something from my Patreon or a second channel, where we make that aircraft and complete the final part of the Antarctic snow cruiser. There's still a bit of painting I'd like to do with this as well too. Tart up the outside, maybe get the Antarctic snow cruiser logo that they had on the side here as well too. But yeah, remember, if you're interested in your own BambuLab printer, check the link in the description below. Their Black Friday sale is now on, and you too can maybe download either my German Rescue Boy model or the Antarctic snow cruiser. Let me know how you get on. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.